Welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes with Andy, our podcast that began in after 2020 and into 2021. We're into season 3, and our goal is to have you listen in and find out a lot about some folks that in and around Northwest Ohio and have stories to tell, and all kinds of stories. They're stories of hope, stories of inspiration. They are stories of some positivity that's going to come out of it, and we hope that you walk away with a message here, and I guess the best way to say it is walk away with a better understanding of some of the things that people have experienced in their lives and outside of your lives and your world. So without further ado, we begin our next guest and welcome her in. Thanks for the time, Clare Awada. Hi, Clare. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you so much for being here. I know what we're going to spend some time talking about. A lot of it brings back and digs up some memories and things that were not good for you and haven't been, but I appreciate you taking the time and trusting that this is a process, and hopefully it's part of a healing process for you as well as we go.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So where does your journey begin? Where does your story start?
Well, it started actually quite a few years ago, probably 20 some years ago when I was about 14. I actually grew up in Sylvania with my parents divorced when I was probably 12, and they both stayed in my life. They did shared custody. I mostly lived with my dad, and right around the beginning of, I'm going to say 2000, we had new neighbors move in. They had 2 little kids, I think about 4 and 2, and I became their babysitter. And shortly after that, the dad started to just become more friendly, and soon after that, I guess, just, I guess the best way to say it, started to groom me, and we began to have a sexual relationship. I was 14 then, and he was 34. I brought up the point of my parents being divorced because I think that played a role in it. He took advantage of the fact that my dad worked long hours and wasn't around much. So I think he had that opportunity to, just take the advantage of being around and giving that extra attention and kind of show that parenting and caring type relationship that a teenager, I guess, was looking for. And things just kind of went from there for a good 6 months. And then it came to a screeching halt.
I want to back up. Are you an only child?
I am not.
You're not. Okay.
I have an older sister and an older brother. And actually thankful for that because during that time, my attitude, behavior completely changed. And that's one reason why I wanted to speak up to this, because I think that was one of the signs. I couldn't, I talked about them constantly, and my sister knew something was going on. And so she was on a heightened awareness, and she sat at our family computer one day and saw an email that I had written to the neighbor, and knew instantly then that all of her instincts were correct, that something was going on. And she took it to my mom, who then took it to my dad. They took it to the Sylvania police, And 2 days later, they had enough information to have a search warrant to go into his house and then take me down to the station and talk to me about our relationship. And once I went down there, I told him the truth, like everything that was going on. And
had you been covering it up for him? I mean, afraid to speak out because afraid of ramifications? What was your state of mind at 14 as you look back then?
No, I thought our relationship was real. Like, he had me groomed. I was in love with him. I thought he cared about me. I mean, he was always kind and gentle and did all the right things, but it was wrong because he was older and I was 14. So, to me it was real. So when people were asking, nobody had ever asked if there was something inappropriate going on, but my sister would just make comments and she didn't really like the guy, she knew and thought he was creepy or whatever.
And when you say older, were the siblings old enough to be out of the house or still living in the house with you or part-time with you since mom and dad had split?
My sister and brother were both older and only living in the house part-time. They were both in college. I think my brother was at Purdue, and my sister, I think at the time, was her first-year law student at UT, so she had her own place. So it was coming and going.
Was it them or mom or dad that caught on that? Because obviously I'm sure your personality had changed as you look back to that because you're going through things that 14-year-olds shouldn't be going through.
I think it was mostly my sister.
She caught on to something was up.
Yeah, because she would be around during the day and just could tell that I was trying to hang out around outside so I could see him or he could see me, and I was trying to get into the alcohol to drink, and I would just mention him and the kids and that type of stuff. And she was just why you always talk about them and their family and that type of thing. And it was because he was always on my mind. I was a 14-year-old girl, head over heels for somebody.
Is your sister the one that you finally confided in and told?
She saw the email.
And that's when, so the email that's how it all came about.
And then she took it to my mom right away. And then for 2 days, they had the computer at the police station and just had lied to me that the computer had broken, was at a computer store. You know, back then we had towers and you had to take your computer to get fixed when it didn't work. And so I thought our computer was at the computer store getting fixed. And then I was actually in physical therapy for my knee at the time, and I had came home from physical therapy to the Slovenia detective at my house and said that she needed to talk to me about my relationship with my next door neighbor.
Okay. So what do you recall about that moment and that day with them, police?
Just instantly my heart sinking, and
because I'm sure you were, I shouldn't say that. I assume you were told to never talk about this. Nobody would understand. That was part of the grooming.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He said, don't tell anybody about this. We can't, he would lose his family. He would lose his job, his business. It would ruin his whole life if anybody knew about this. To never write about it, which I had written about. So definitely, right away, I was nervous. And I remember she said, we can talk about it here or down at the station. And I said, well, we can talk about it here. And she's like, no, we're going to go down to the station. Which at the time I was, a 14-year-old that kind of, instantly then gets kind of snotty or whatever. And I'm like, okay, then why did you give me that option? And her car actually was in the neighbor's driveway, so I had to walk out my front door, walk over to their driveway. So who knows, like, what all my neighbors at that time had seen. My parents didn't go with me down to the police station. It was just me and her. She drove me down there. Once we got down there, at first I still was, like, trying to defend him. I was like, nothing's going on. And I remember she, like, flipped around this binder, and she had, like, emails, copies of emails that we had sent back and forth to each other, and said, there's no point in lying to me. We have all your emails, and we can tell that there's something going on. And so at that point, I basically was like, okay, well, I might as well just talk. So
did it feel like, because I'm hearing you describe this, and two things have popped into my head. One, they're questioning you and no mom or dad around, and you're 14.
Yep.
That is illegal, right? Am I wrong on that?
Well, I think at that point, I mean, I didn't do anything wrong, so I don't think.
And that was the other part. It makes it feel like, as you're talking to me, it sounded as if, well, they're taking you downtown and that you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
But did it feel like that you were getting in trouble because of the way you were being treated?
Right, yeah. So I think, she told me, she's like, you're not in trouble. We just need to know what's going on. So at the time, like, I think I just felt more like, okay, like, I'm not in trouble, but I need to tell somebody, I guess, like, at that point. Like, I don't think until later in my life did I guess, get upset about the fact that neither of my parents went with me, and they just kind of went and had me go. I guess I just didn't think about it. Like, it just happened, and everything happened kind of fast. Yeah, like, I think I instantly kind of, like, went numb, and at that point it was just like, okay, well, I have to tell you what's going on, because in my head I, like, then was angry, like, even afterwards, for a long time, I was angry, like, how can people tell me who I can and can't be in love with? Like, I was in denial. Like, I was brainwashed. Like, I was in love with this guy, and I'm thinking, like, who cares if I'm 14 and he's 34? Like, how can somebody essentially tell me who I can and can't be in love with? How do they know what's right and wrong for me? Like, how can they tell me that I can't have sex with somebody, or whatever? So it took me a really long time afterwards. Like, I was angry at everybody about it. So it took a really long time afterwards. Like, that was just, the beginning. Like, I didn't really understand the, like, ramifications of everything at that time. Like, he brainwashed me. Mm-hmm. So what happened from that day as far as your interview is done with police? Did he go into custody right away, or what happened from there? He went down to the police station, I believe. Afterwards, I went home. I didn't go to school the next day, I don't think. I think, things were kind of a blur for a while. Like I said, I was angry for a while. And then, I got really depressed, because to me that was like a breakup. My parents, wanted me to go see therapists, so we tried to go to a bunch of different therapists. I wasn't really connecting with any of them. And then he wasn't allowed to come back home. And my parents, basically left me out of the court process. So it wasn't really until, later on and looking back into this, type of stuff that I actually knew how everything really went. They just kind of, left me out of it all. But I did, then got really depressed. I turned to drinking, drugs, like having sex, using like my body as a way to like get men, because that's what I thought men wanted in high school. And I mean, I just was not kind to myself in any way, shape, or form. I basically was like anorexic. I felt like that counting my calories and how many hours I slept were the only two things in my life I could control. I prayed every night to God that he would just take my life, because I didn't want to live, but didn't have the guts to actually do something to myself.
Claire, you had to feel like too you were going through all this alone? Did you at that time, did you have, whether it be siblings, did you have or friends support? And if not, when did that maybe change for you a little bit?
I had a couple friends. I never had a great group of friends in high school. I think because of how my high school started. And my one good friend was always getting in trouble, and so her parents didn't let her talk on the phone a bunch. So I felt like whenever I needed to talk, I couldn't talk to her. So that was tough. But I then found the school psychologist at Northview in Sylvania was amazing, and I really connected with him, and he started to help a lot. And I just, I guess, dug deep and still just made it through somehow.
By the way, you're doing great right now. You're doing amazing.
Thanks.
And did that help? Because I was waiting for you to say the psychologist or the guidance counselor at the school. Well, is it a male or a female? Did that help you, as you look back now, on a process that you had a positive male now influence that was older, based, totally opposite from what you had just experienced?
Yeah, I think it did. He's probably, ironically, right around the same age as him too, and he was amazing. He was available whenever I needed him to be, and truly helped. I mean, even throughout the summers, I could set up sessions with him, and he just helped. I got into golf, so I played golf with the school, and then I think at some point during the college or during high school, I don't remember when, I just decided that whatever my career was going to be, it was going to be something that helped others. I knew eventually I was going to do something to help others in similar situations, one way or another. So I think that kind of led me to my nursing career that I am now. And I'm also a SANE nurse, which is the sexual assault nurse examiner. And then, now I would like to also speak about child sexual abuse and grooming, whether it's to kids on what to look for and to be able to speak up about, or to parents on red flags. So it doesn't, thankfully, 6 months is still a long time, but thankfully it wasn't longer. Mm-hmm. And thankfully my sister was so vigilant on paying attention and saw the email, because who knows how much longer it would have went on. I could have ended up pregnant. I could have, who knows what else could have happened. So I'm thankful for that. I'm married. I have 3 kids. looking back in high school, I would have never thought that this is where I would have been. But, I have an amazing job, an amazing husband, and 3 kids and a house. And, there's definitely days that I still struggle. And it's definitely easier to be negative because my brain was kind of wired that way. Then it's like a lot more work to be positive. But I'm working on it, and I'll probably be in therapy for the rest of my life. But if that's what it takes, I guess that's what it is. And if me speaking out and helps somebody else, then I guess it was worth it.
You mentioned, Claire, the warning signs. We may have, certainly we're going to have some parents listening. Maybe they're going to bring their children into this. If not, they're going to listen intently, especially the ones that already have those red flags. As you look back, or as you've discovered on your journey, what were those red flags?
The neighbor was paying extra attention to me. I was paying attention to him, wanting to be around that family. My behavior changed. Like, I was trying to dress differently. And it was like sudden. It wasn't, just like over time, like teenagers changed. It was like abruptly. Like, there was lots of abrupt changes. I was like locking my bedroom door. Like, I used to like keep my bedroom door open all the time, and then all the time, like, then suddenly, like, I'm closing my door, my bedroom door is locked, like, those types of things. I'm trying to, like, make secretive phone calls, like, and, my family's, like, noticing those types of things, like, why are you on the phone and whispering? Why are you trying to, like, go as far away as possible on your phone and hide, and that type of thing, so people can't hear you, and just being more secretive type things, like, why you have to be so secretive. And back when this happened, we had AOL, AIM, or whatever it is. I know now there's like lots more communication, so I know there's lots more ways to like hide things, but I didn't have a cell phone. He had gave me a walkie-talkie to get a hold of me, like, that I hid that, so my parents didn't even know about that. But, there was just, like, a bunch of little things. I guess nowadays it would probably be harder, or I guess easier, whichever way you want to look at it.
All right, I don't want to give this monster any more time than need be. I want to wrap up his segment right away because I want everybody listening to know right now where he's at, and to know that you weren't the only victim. And there was a much, much worse victim out there. Not worse, because you suffered. Somebody else that he did a lot more to, is maybe a better way of saying it. And we can wrap him up and continue with your story.
Right. So, I guess one other positive thing that did come out of this is I also have a best friend that came out of this. Several years after what happened to me, I was on Facebook and got a message from somebody that said, I think we have something in common, which at first I was dating my now husband. So my first instinct actually was, oh my God, my boyfriend is cheating on me and this is the other girl. Come to find out, no, my now husband wasn't cheating on me. This girl that messaged me had actually been contacted by the Savannah Township Police because in 95, she had, in fact, been raped and had a rape kit done. They had pulled her rape kit off the shelf and ran it, and because of what happened to me, his DNA was in the system, and they ran it and matched it to her rape and from 95. And so she went and started searching his name and stuff and started looking through his previous dockets from his long list of criminal record. And in one little spot, my name was left in there, I guess, fortunately now, but and she contacted me, and so she told me her story, I told her mine, and she was the one that was raped by him before me, but he had then got caught after what happened to me for hers. So he is now sitting in jail for life for raping her. So,
and you guys have and that's the silver lining, is that friendship is still alive and well, and today you called her, she's your best friend.
Yeah, she is my best friend.
So what started a friendship built out of that has blossomed into other stuff where you probably don't even talk about him that much anymore.
No.
At all. There's no reason to.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, I guess, the silver lining out of all of this.
So I know when we connected through mutual terrific people that you said that you felt like it was time for you to get your story out there. Why do you feel like now?
I guess just in the past couple of years, I became a SANE nurse. It finally had happened. When I became a nurse, it was something that I had always wanted to do. That time finally had came after getting married and having my kids. And last year I went to the SART symposium and listened to a couple of the talkers and their stories. And it just really inspired me that they got up there and told their stories of stuff that has happened to them. And I feel like it was my calling to try to reach out and do some talks or podcast or whatever it is, and if I can reach somebody else in one way, whether it's somebody else that this has happened to, or a parent that thinks that this is happening to their child, or whatever it is, and help somebody, then that will make me feel better and it will be worth it.
What would you advise anybody to do if they think that might be going on right now?
I mean, if you're a child and this is happening, go tell somebody. I mean, it's not a real relationship. It's not worth it. I mean, it might feel real, but it's not. So reach out to somebody. Go find somebody that you trust. If you're an adult and you think it's happening to a kid I mean, try to talk to them and be supportive. Tell them that it's not their fault, they're not to blame, and try to get them help and, figure out if it's happening, I guess. And if it's already happened to you, get some counseling. Don't be afraid to talk about it. And one of the biggest things is, for a really long time, I still felt like because I was a willing participant that I had something, like I was to blame. Like I wasn't forced. I wasn't a forced rape victim, that I was to blame. And I would say just probably in the last few years that I finally have fully agreed with myself or came to the conclusion that it's not my fault. I am not to blame. And if this happens to you, you're not to blame.
Twofold question here. You have found your person in therapy.
Yep.
You have found your person in life, too, in a husband.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you said 3 kids. What are their ages? I
have a 10, 8, and 5-year-old. They're all boys.
They're all boys.
Yes.
Is that a blessing? Is that a good thing, bad thing? I mean, not a bad thing. Is it something, did you want a daughter? Are you happy with the 3 that you have? And
I feel like I wanted a daughter, but I feel like in some way, shape, or form, it is a blessing. I think some higher power has known that I probably couldn't handle a girl. That my emotional well-being probably could not handle a girl, and they blessed me with 3 amazing boys. So there's that.
I'm really happy for you for that. So you live with this trauma, you own this trauma, but you haven't let it define you. Has that been a struggle to get to that point? I mean, it's a day-by-day journey, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, it has been, and like I said, there's still ups and downs. I feel like probably for the rest of my life I will deal with the effects of the trauma. I try not to let it define me, but it definitely has made me who I am and will always have effects on, my choices in life and how some days go for me. I mean, that's just, I guess, how trauma is, and depression and anxiety are, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, this is I have no idea. I'm humbled that you picked us to do this podcast with. I mean this when I say this. You're as brave and courageous a person as I've had sit in that chair and do these podcasts in 3 seasons, and probably anybody that I'll ever meet. So thanks for sharing your journey with us.
Well, I'm super thankful that you've had me here.
Yeah, I hope it's gone as you hoped.
It has.
Okay. Now, I told you ahead of time, I call it a speed round worth of questions.
Okay.
And there are no wrong answers here.
All right.
None whatsoever, all right?
Let's do it.
What's your favorite word?
I mean, I don't know if I have a favorite word, but my most used word is probably fuck. I mean, I am a nurse too, so.
And I don't, by the way, what you guys have dealt with since 2020, when the pandemic hit, let alone everything else going on in the world, I don't know how you do it.
Right.
You're an RN, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What's your least favorite word?
Oh. Right now, because of my 3 kids and my 2 older boys, probably bro.
Okay. Sound or noise that you love to hear?
Probably like my kids' voices.
Those are great sounds. Sound or noise you hate?
The dinging at my work, like the alarms.
Yeah. Because a lot of times you're in action for something, or it could be something bad too happening.
Right.
Okay, so you're a nurse, as we established. Is there a profession out there other than the one that you have that you've always found fascinating or would like to attempt?
I mean, so I actually originally went into criminal justice, so I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So I guess I had always wanted to be like a police officer or detective. So something along those lines would be my second option-ish, but I'm not really sure.
Okay. And the last one, told you there weren't very many. So you're going to live a long, long time. I know that. How would you like to be remembered? Or if maybe a good question, how would you like to be remembered from this podcast? As people listen, or what would you like them to take away from hearing your story?
I guess even something along the lines of, like, in the hardest days or shittiest moments, to just never give up and to keep pushing and to try to make it through. Just like my tattoo says on my arm, never give up.
Never. I noticed the ink, and that's the first thing that I was reading what it was, and I figured it was inspirational.
Yep.
Yeah. You've had one hell of a life and could have done a lot. It could have gone, you said it, and it could have ended back when you were a teenager, and you had those thoughts, and thankfully it hasn't, and it didn't, and you're where you're at. And my best to your husband, your boys, and to you to continue your healing process, because I know it's a journey. It's
Yes.
never ending.
Yep.
So best of luck in continuing that, and I hope you live a fabulous rest of your life. And thanks again for spending some time with us and talking here in our 15 Minutes with Andy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure meeting you. That's Clare Awada. I want to make sure I said that right.
Yes.
And I got the spelling right even after 12 tries. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for listening to our 15 Minutes with Andy podcast with Clare. And hopefully you can join in and find another one from another season or an upcoming season. Go on out and make it a great rest of your day. And remember, be kind, do kind things for others here. And we'll see you the next time. Talk to you the next time on 15 Minutes with Andy.